I'll never forget that sound, the soft, jagged rip of wrapping paper tearing through the silence. It was all we could hear in that tense room. No music, no laughter. Just the delicate crinkle as my daughter Kai, with her tiny hopeful fingers, tugged at the corners of her gift like it was a treasure from a fairy tale. Can you imagine her excitement? For one fleeting moment, she actually smiled, that pure, glowing smile kids have when they believe magic might still exist, when the world feels full of wonder. But then, oh, how my heart sank. She opened the box and her little face changed. Confusion clouded her eyes first, then a deeper sting, maybe hurt, flickered across her expression. Her small shoulders stiffened, and she glanced at me, searching for answers. The box was empty, nothing but a plain cardboard bottom stared back at us. No tissue paper, no toy, not even a scribbled note, just a hollow mocking nothing. I blinked hard, my mind racing. Was this a mistake? Did something fall out? Could someone have forgotten to pack it? Before I could even form words, a harsh sound cut through the air. My father, Frank, can you believe him? Let out a sharp, cold laugh like a wolf's bark in the dead of winter. He leaned back in his armchair, arms folded, and spat out kids, like her shouldn't expect anything. The world's got enough leeches already. My heart plummeted. Ka froze, her hand still inside the empty box, as if she could will a gift to appear, as if it might be hiding under the flaps or tucked in a corner. But there was nothing. Heat surged through my chest, my hands trembling on my lap. I wanted to scream, to defend her, but the words stuck in my throat like sharp splinters. Then Sandra, my sister, snorted, actually snorted, and muttered under her breath. She's just like her mother, always expecting handouts. Worthless. My jaw clenched so tight I thought it might crack. The burn behind my eyes threatened to spill over, but I couldn't let it, not yet. I forced myself to look at Kai. She wasn't crying, oh how brave she was, but her lips were pressed tight, her chin trembling, like it might shatter any second. Those big soft eyes of hers, usually so full of light, were brimming with tears she was too proud to let fall. She glanced at me again, not begging for help, just silently asking, should I pretend this doesn't hurt? Oh Ka, my sweet girl. In that moment I hated myself. Hated that I'd brought her here, that I dared to hope stupidly maybe for a normal Christmas. Why did I think my father could change? Why did I believe they'd see the beautiful, kind, creative soul Ka was and love her like I do? To them, she was just a shadow of me, a reminder of my divorce, my so-called failures, the mess they thought I'd made of my life. How could they be so blind? The room fell deathly silent save for the faint hum of the heater and the relentless ticking of the grandfather clock behind Frank's chair. Each tick felt louder, heavier, like it was counting down to something I wasn't ready for. Ka stared at the empty box, her fingers brushing its edge. Then slowly she folded the flaps, shut, her hands trembling. And then, can you believe her strength? She whispered. I got you a gift too, Grandpa. Every head turned. Frank looked up, that smug grin still plastered on his face. Oh yeah, he said, half laughing, like it was all a joke. This'll be good. But Ka, she didn't flinch. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small piece of paper folded with such care it made my chest ache. She stepped forward, holding it out to him with both hands like it was the most precious thing she owned. Oh, my brave girl. Right then, I knew this wasn't over. Something was coming, something none of us were prepared for. I hadn't been home for Christmas in over 2 years. Not since the divorce, not since the shame, not since everything I'd tried to hold together cracked wide open. But Ka, sweet Ka, she wanted to see them. 3 weeks before Christmas, she asked Mom, do I have a grandpa? Her innocent question hit me like a punch. It was her way of wondering why we were always alone during the holidays, why we didn't have matching pajamas, giant trees, or cousins to chase around. So I said yes. And when she asked if we could visit him this year, I said yes again, against every ounce of my better judgment. What was I thinking? Maybe I thought time might have softened them. Maybe just for a fleeting moment I believed that when they saw Ka, really saw her, they'd feel something. Warmth, regret, love, anything. But the second we pulled into their driveway, that old familiar weight settled back onto my shoulders like barbed wire coiling around my ribs, tightening with every forced smile for people who didn't want us there. Their house hadn't changed a bit, still cold, still perfect, still so spotless it felt more like a museum than a home. My mother greeted us with her practiced plastic politeness, a quick hug for me, a soft pat on Ka's head. But her eyes, oh, I saw it, lingered too long on the scuff marks on Ka's boots, sizing her up like an item that didn't quite belong on her pristine shelves. Sandra, she barely looked up from her phone, tossing Ka a half-hearted, hey, before diving back into her scrolling. My stomach was already in knots. And then there was Frank, my father, slouched in his usual chair by the fireplace. Whiskey glass in one hand, TV remote in the other. He didn't even stand up, just gave a curt nod and muttered, "Didn't think you'd actually show up." That was his hello. Kai, undeterred, gave him a shy wave, her mittened fingers poking through the wool. "Hi, Grandpa," she said softly, testing the word like it was a fragile thing. He grunted. Why did I still hope for more? Maybe because Ka was trying so hard. She'd made little drawings for everyone, carefully colored, folded and tucked into envelopes with their names scrawled on the front. She even asked me how to spell Aunt Sandra's name because she wanted it to be perfect. She worked on those drawings every night for a week. I wanted this to be special for her, to make her feel like she had a family, even if they were far from perfect. I scraped together every penny I could from tips and extra shifts just to buy her a nice outfit, a small gift to open, and enough gas to get us there. That morning, as I tied her scarf, she looked up at me with those big eyes and asked, "Do you think they'll like my drawings?" My heart swelled. "Sweetheart, they're going to love them," I said. But deep in my gut, I knew the truth. I was bringing her into a house where kindness was a currency they never gave out for free, where smiles were measured and love came with conditions. Oh, why did I think this would be different? I tried so hard to make it work, telling myself this was about Ka, not me. I could keep my chin up, play nice, pretend for one day that everything was okay. But as I watched her heart quietly break over that cruel empty box, I realized they hadn't changed not one bit. Would they ever? Ka handed out her little envelopes like they were priceless treasures, moving through the room so gently, like she was afraid to disturb the air. Each envelope had a name written in her careful, blocky handwriting. She gave one to my mother first, then Sandra, then even my brother Matt, who'd barely said a word since we arrived. When she got to Frank, she paused just for a second, and I held my breath. But she smiled, lifted the envelope, and said, "Merry Christmas, Grandpa." He didn't even look up from the TV, just held out a hand like she was dropping off the mail, not offering a piece of her heart. "Oh, Ka, how did you stay so brave?" She came back to the couch and sat beside me, her face still lit up with hope. She had no idea how cold the room had turned. Then Frank reached under the tree and pulled out a large box wrapped in silver paper with a red bow so neat it looked untouched. He held it out to Ka with a grunt. Her eyes widened. For me, she asked, her voice full of wonder. He shrugged. "Says your name, doesn't it?" She looked at me like she needed permission to believe it. I nodded, even though my gut twisted something felt wrong. Ka scooted to the floor, pulling the box into her lap. Her small hands ran over the paper like it was sacred, savoring every moment, the careful untaping of each edge, the gentle unfolding. She wanted to remember this. Then the lid came off. She peered inside, and I saw at the exact moment her heart broke. The box was empty, completely, cruelly empty. Oh, how could they do this to her? Ka's face didn't crumple right away. Oh, how my heart ached for her strength. Instead, her little eyebrows knitted together in confusion, her small hand reaching into the empty box, as if something, anything, might be stuck at the bottom. She looked up at me, her eyes uncertain, searching for an explanation I didn't have. Nothing? The box held absolutely nothing. Can you imagine the cruelty of it? Frank's laugh boomed, this time loud and mocking. "What, you thought you'd get something real?" he scoffed, leaning back in his chair like a king on a throne. "The world doesn't hand out gifts just for showing up, kid." My stomach churned. Ka blinked, her hands frozen on the box, her tiny fingers still clutching the edges as if hope alone could fill it. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then Sandra, oh, why did she always have to twist the knife, piped up from her corner of the couch, her voice dripping with venom. "Well, she's just like her mom, always expecting handouts. No surprise there." It hit me like a punch to the chest. I spun toward her, my voice sharp. "Sandra, don't." But she just raised a brow, smirking. What, it's true? How could she say that to my little girl? Ka stayed silent, the box still in her lap, its flaps splayed open, exposing the cruel emptiness inside. The room turned on her. Can you feel the chill of it? And I saw her realize it, her small face registering the betrayal. I hated them for making her feel so small, for making her question her worth, for laughing like her pain was a joke. I reached for her, desperate to shield her, but she didn't budge. She just stared at that box, as if waiting long enough might make it fill with love. Oh, Ka, you deserve so much more. Inside I was screaming, say something, stand up, defend her, but I didn't want to make a scene, not in front of her. That's the thing about families like this, isn't it? You learn to freeze when cruelty strikes. You learn to smile through clenched teeth. And I'd done it for so many years, it felt almost normal. But this wasn't normal. Ka was only 7. She didn't know how to wear a mask, yet didn't know how to swallow that kind of pain. How could I let this happen? Then she looked up at Frank, her voice so quiet it was barely a whisper, yet it rang through the room like a bell. It's okay, she said. I got you a gift too, Grandpa. Can you believe her courage? The whole room shifted. No one spoke. No one laughed. She reached into her coat pocket and I knew something unforgettable was about to happen. I stared frozen as Ka pulled out a folded piece of paper from her pocket. The room was so silent I could hear the faint creak of the old floorboard under the Christmas tree with every tiny movement. My breath felt too loud in my chest. The paper looked so small in her hands, so fragile, like it could be crumpled and tossed aside without a thought. But she held it like it was everything, like it carried her whole heart. I whispered, Ka, maybe not now, my voice trembling. She turned to me and her eyes, oh, they held something I didn't recognize. Not sadness, not hurt, but a calm, steady resolve. She gave a little nod as if to say, I have to do this, and turned back to Frank. I made this for you, she said, her voice soft but sure. Frank didn't even lean forward, just glanced at it with that bored, dismissive look he always wore when anyone dared ask him to care. Oh, yeah, he muttered, sipping his drink. Would you draw me a snowman or something? The sarcasm in his voice. Ugh. It was the kind that cuts you down without raising a shout. But Kashi didn't flinch. She walked across the room, holding that paper out to him with both hands. Her fingers were shaking. Can you imagine how brave she was? And I knew that feeling, the way your hands betray you, when your heart's pounding, when every part of you wants to run. He took it like it was nothing, sliding it open with one hand while still clutching his glass. Then he stopped. I couldn't see the paper from where I sat, but I saw his face. Oh, it wasn't what I expected. No confusion, no irritation. His eyebrows drew together. He blinked once, then again, his jaw loosening like he'd forgotten himself. The whole room seemed to lean in, holding its breath. What is it? Sandra snapped, impatient. He didn't answer, just stared. Ka stood there, hands clasped, now watching him quietly as if she too was waiting for what came next. I got up, crossing the room slowly, terrified of breaking the moment. I placed a hand on her back, gentle as a whisper. She didn't look at me, just kept her eyes on Frank. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. Not angry, not smug, just still. He folded the paper carefully, almost reverently, and set it on the side table by his chair. Then he stood up. No one spoke. No one moved. He walked out without a word, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. The only sound in the stunned silence. No slamming door, no shouting, just gone. I looked down at Kai, her voice so small as she asked, did I do something wrong? My heart broke. I knelt beside her, wrapping her in my arms, whispering, no, sweetheart, you did something brave. Sandra muttered something snide under her breath, but I didn't care in it this time. Whatever Ka had drawn, whatever she'd written, it pierced him in a way none of us ever could. She didn't lash out, didn't cry or scream. She gave him a gift, one that reminded him he was still human even if he'd forgotten. And maybe, just maybe, that scared him more than anything. I didn't see my father for the rest of the day. He didn't come back to the living room, didn't join us for dinner. Not even when my mother called out in that fake sweet tone that dessert was ready, pretending everything was fine. Ka didn't mention him again that evening. She played quietly with a ribbon from one of her other small gifts, helping me fold wrapping paper scraps like it was any other night. But her eyes, oh, they kept drifting to the hallway, where Frank had vanished, like she was waiting for something. But nothing came, not that day. We left early the next morning. I told them we had plans back in the city, but honestly, I couldn't bear another second of pretending Sandra didn't even get up to say goodbye. My mother handed me a foil-covered plate of leftover ham and said, Drive safe with no mention of what happened. No concern for Ka. That hurt more than I can say. The ride home was quiet. Ka stared out the window, snow blurring past the trees. I held her hand at one point, and she squeezed back such a small, fierce grip I didn't ask about the drawing. I couldn't bear to make her explain something so personal to unravel the magic of that moment. But I thought about it the whole drive home. Oh, how I wondered. What had she drawn that made my father, the man who once called me weak for crying, at a movie turn pale and leave without a word? 4 days later, we found out. A small unmarked box appeared on our porch, Ka's name written in careful block letters across the top. She opened it slowly like she was afraid to hope. Inside was a tiny music box, old-fashioned wooden, with hand-carved edges and little roses painted on the lid. It played Somewhere Over the Rainbow when she turned the crank. Oh, it was beautiful. A note lay inside, just one line in shaky handwriting. To the bravest girl I know. Thank you for remembering her. No signature, but we didn't need one. Ka clutched that box to her chest like it was pure gold. She didn't speak at first, just held it and smiled, her eyes shining. I sat beside her on the floor and finally asked Ka, what did you draw for Grandpa? Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. It was a picture of him holding hands with Grandma and me. I told him I hope he smiles again one day, because I remember how she made him laugh. My throat closed up. I couldn't speak. How could I? That was it, the piece of him. I'd forgotten the man, who once laughed, once smiled, before grief turned him to stone. Ka saw through it all and gave him hope. Not pity, not guilt, but hope. Oh, my incredible girl. Ka didn't try to fix him. Oh, how could she? But she reminded him he was once someone worth remembering. In return, he gave her something too. Not love, not forgiveness, but a beginning. Isn't that enough sometimes? Now that music box sits on Ka's nightstand, a tiny treasure. Every night before bed, she winds it up, not always to hear its tune, but to hold it, to feel its weight in her small hands, like a child clinging to a beloved stuffed animal they've outgrown, but can't let go. Can you picture her there, holding on to that hope? She hasn't said much about that day since, has she buried it deep. But sometimes she'll mention Grandma. Someone she never met yet speaks of, like she's right here woven into the stories I've shared, and the quiet void she left behind. Maybe Ka knows her in her heart. Frank never called, never sent a follow-up. No, I'm sorry. No explanations would he ever change. That's not who he is, maybe not who he'll ever be. But a week later, a letter came. Not for Ka, but for me. Just 3 lines in that same shaky handwriting. I was wrong about you. She's a good kid. I hope you're doing okay. No name, but I knew. Oh, I knew I cried. Not because it erased the pain or mended years of silence, nor because it softened the way he used to look through me, like I was a disappointment with a name tag, but because for once he saw me. More than that, he saw Ka, her special light, her gift for melting the coldness, in a room showing people their own warmth even when they don't deserve it. Isn't that incredible? Ka's not loud. She doesn't demand attention, but she changes things. She changed him not entirely, but enough to crack open the door. He'd slammed shut on the world enough to make a man who worshiped toughness and silence pause and hear the music in a little girl's drawing. Can you imagine that shift? People ask me why I went back that Christmas, why I let them near her, why I didn't shield her better. I thought I was protecting her, keeping their coldness at bay by avoiding them. But Ka didn't need protection. She needed truth. She needed to face them, to see the world for what it is: beautiful, yet cruel, broken, yet hopeful, all tangled together. And instead of crumbling, oh, how she shone, she added her own light. She didn't crave revenge or even an apology. She just wanted to give a gift. That simple act did what I couldn't. In 30 years, it opened a door, not wide, not forever, but enough for a note to slip through, for a song to pierce the silence, for a weary old man to glimpse a part of himself he thought was lost. Kai taught me something too. Can you believe it? Kindness is the boldest act. A whisper can outweigh a scream. And when we choose love, even when it's tough, even when it's not returned, we create something unbreakable, a moment, a shift, a gift. If this story moves you, like, share, and comment. Why not give someone a second chance today? Who knows what doors might open?